Roger, Tranquility, we copy that. We cannot believe you are on the fucking moon. Repeat, cannot fucking believe it, over. The moon, for Christ's sake. The moon. Over. Descending the ladder. See the Earth. Entire planet Earth. Oh, Christ. We read you, Tranquility, over. On the bottom rung of the ladder. Just one more step and Tranquility. Holy living fuck. Are you fucking believing this, over? I absolutely am standing on the surface of the fucking moon. I'm talking to you from the surface of the fucking moon. Jesus H. Christ in a chicken basket.
Okay, number 5 should show typical lunar landscape and sea rock. Is that the sea rock? And that is a clear letter C on that little rock right there.
In later releases of the same picture, the letter is gone, probably airbrushed out.
Just an example here of how the pictures are manipulated. You'll notice that this little rock here, just at the bottom here, this little rock here, and this little rock here are identical, which is odd on the moon. You would expect them to be at least slightly different, but they're not. This whole section here is an exact duplicate of the section above it, minus this little bit. And coming over to the left here, we have another example. That rock and that rock are identical. Those are identical. That is identical. This whole section here has been duplicated and added in to make the picture look prettier. Which it may make it look a bit prettier, but it's a bit of a cheat, because this is supposed to be a record of one particular event, not a pretty picture. Okay, this is a 360-degree panoramic view of the Taurus-Littrow Valley, Apollo 17's landing site. And you'll notice that it is 360 degrees because the lump of rock on the left of the picture and the lump of rock on the right of the picture are identical. So it is 360 degrees. consists of about 15 individual photographs, all strapped together to give us this wonderful panorama. So you could be reasonably certain that somewhere in this picture is the Apollo 17 lander. I can't find it. We know where it should be. It should be pretty well in the center here.
This wide view is looking across the Taurus Littrow Valley with a distinctive mountain, a light-coloured mound and the little feature above it. Now as we mix through to the TV coverage, the LEM is clearly at the same location. Compare this still image, from which the LEM is absent, with what is obviously the same location where the LEM is present. Although the lighting has changed, the mountain is recognisably the same. All very surprising. This is the landing spot at Taurus Littrow. As the camera pulls back, we can see that all these mountains are located well away from the LEM's landing site. Now I'd like to draw your attention to some rather peculiar features in the mountains of Taurus Littrow that appear in the record. In the background is a rather distinctive mountain with a steepish slope on the left and a gradual slope off to the right. Centrally positioned is a light-coloured mound and an interesting mini crater feature inset above it. And over to the right is another mound with a larger, darker crater-like feature. We'll be seeing more of this mountain and the mounds in the sequences that follow. Here again is the light-coloured mound on the left, and in the centre the second mound with its larger, darker crater-like feature. Notice in the left foreground are some experiment packages. And now with the LEM in the foreground, you'll recognise the mound with a dark crater-like feature. We have confirmation of the LEM's apparent close proximity to this location by way of this image as well. Note the two key features, the light-coloured mound on the left and the second mound with a darker feature to the right. But when we look again at the wide view of the valley with an astronaut standing by the large split rock, we can see there's no apparent sign whatsoever of the LEM in relation to the scale of the mountains we were looking at in the previous image. Here's another view, this time looking over Split Rock. Notice the crater in the centre with no obvious sign of the lunar module at all, and an even wider composited image revealing an area to the right of the boulder. Surprisingly, this is the area in the centre of the picture where the LEM is supposed to have landed. Look how tiny it is in relation to the setting and the surrounding mountain landscape. What anomalous scaling compared with the close-up view of the LEM we saw earlier. As we bring the centre larger, notice how small the LEM looks in relation to what appear to be absolutely enormous mountains. Returning to the footage we saw previously, compare the mountains seen in the TV coverage with those in this still photograph. They're virtually identical, yet the LEM is absent from the still image and present in the TV coverage.
In this never-before-seen or heard footage, not only is the radio conversation between the astronauts and Houston Control audible, there is a secondary, private conversation taking place between the crew and a third confidential party, prompting the astronauts with what to say, when to speak, and how to effectively manipulate the camera to achieve the desired misleading effect.
Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger, we're wrapping in on Earth.
What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance, with the darkened walls of the spacecraft appearing to be the blackness of space around it. That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from entering through the other windows. This is a segment that they believed wasn't even being recorded, much less suitable for broadcast, for the lens was being zoomed out and the scene was being changed to that of an interior of the astronauts at work, and apparently the stop button popped back up on the recorder without notice. Here is the diffused work light that they used to see camera controls, but not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall. Here they remove part of the crescent insert. Finally, the iris is opened up and you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window.
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator at NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight. We're not. And this makes you the real famous person that has discovered this and reveals all this stuff. If you show this publicly, you're open for a lawsuit. Okay?
You're a coward and a liar and a thief. And get the hell out of the Black House.
Go get a gun and shoot them at them before they get out of the office?
We have a video camera running if you want to do it.
Right.
That would be great footage for us. See you later. In court, I hope.
Want to call the CIA? Have them whacked?
Wanted to give you the opportunity to swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon. Will you put your left hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Mr. Sibrel, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible. You do not deserve answers.
All right, 5 till 2 at 700 WLW. Mike McConnell. Guest again, Mr. Aron Ranen. Making a documentary film trying to prove we went to the moon. It's not all that easy to do, apparently. What have you uncovered, Aron?
Well, I am trying to prove it. And really, I can't find any hard evidence. But I thought was going to be an easy thing to prove. Suddenly we have...
It's not all that provable.
It's not that provable.
Everything that was happening aboard the Apollo 11 flight was constantly streaming down to antenna sites all over the world. From the astronauts' heartbeats to electrical use inside the command module, it was all recorded on these telemetry tapes. So where is this hard evidence?
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
But your own research has shown the telemetry data is missing.
That's right.
This film you're making now, what is it?
This is a film trying to prove that Apollo 11 happened.
Does it have a name? I mean, do you have a name for it yet, or
You're calling it Did We Go?
Did we go? Okay. We have been unable to track it down. I mean, we don't know where this telemetry data ended up.
Could this be true? Mankind's first interplanetary exploration and the original science data is missing? Turns out I celebrated a little too early, as I later discovered that the Russians had landed a laser reflector on this unmanned lunar probe. Could the Americans have done the same?